my question is about when you have a different image of what the future looks like with your spouse.
Okay, tell me more.
So specifically, my husband and I have 2 children today. They're under the age of 5. We feel extremely blessed, and we're just kind of soaking it up together. However, I would like a 3rd child, and he is a hard no. And I know that it would be chaos and hardship to bring another kid into the family. But I also know it would be beautiful. I just don't want to push him to a place of resentment if we do take the plunge.
So how have y'all talked about it?
Well, for context, my husband has never really been a hard yes on anything. Like, I've kind of led us into the future on all of the big life steps, from moving in together, getting married, pets, kids, all of it. So whenever I bring it up, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's an absolute no. The 2 things he brings up, which are very valid points, are obviously the financial burden of another kid, and then the fact that the first year of both kids' lives was just an extremely hard chapter on our marriage.
Yeah.
So I haven't really pushed him past that.
I think the first one I don't care about. I mean, I think about how our parents, they had nothing. And when it comes to that kind of stuff, you figure it out. I'm not worried about the financial part of that. And I know that sounds callous and insecure, but parents have been, quote unquote, figuring that out for centuries, for thousands. Like that's less of an issue for me. I'd much rather give up a fancy car or a fancy house or fancy fill in the blank than that. The second one is a much realer conversation. He's got a lived experience twice in the last 5 years. He's watched his wife suffer. He's felt his marriage go underwater. And I think to have this conversation, there's going to have to be another picture painted of here's how this might be different. When you say, when you say your marriage was really tough for the year after both kids, tell me about that.
Both of our babies had colic, reflux, the whole 9. So it's just a really challenging chapter, taking care of them and navigating the new space together as parents. And I thought the second time around would be easier because we knew what we were doing, but it just still wasn't. And I felt like he, was a little bit not ready to take that plunge into kid 2. And then I encouraged it. And now he loves both of our kids, and he's so happy. He's so grateful that we did it. It was temporarily really hard.
Yeah.
So while I know we'll overcome that hard chapter, I just worry. I know we'll overcome it. I think it's the hesitancy for him. And I'm like you with the financial piece, but he's not. He really does care about the nice car, the nice things, and wants to have that money available to do those things. So I haven't pushed it. I've just kind of sat with this for a year now, and I just don't know that I'm okay closing that door and being done.
And so I think that's the true, honest conversation. And I think the true, honest conversation is, I want us both to sit down and put both of our feelings on the table. And I think it helps for one person, and it can be you in this moment, to say, hey, I'm not leaving you and you're not leaving me. So we're anchored into this conversation. So let's explore this in a challenging way. And it might mean that you need to get a counselor just to have a neutral third party to make sure everybody's hearing what the other person is saying. But I think it's fair to say I have this very clear picture of 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And there's, I don't know, do you have sons or daughters right now?
Daughters.
Okay, we have 2 daughters and a son sitting around a table, or 3 daughters sitting around a table with their knuckleheaded boyfriends or fiancés or getting ready for college, whatever that world looks like. I have a very clear picture in my mind of that. And right now, it feels...
I feel like I've exactly said that, actually.
And what does he say?
I've said when I see our table, years from now, I feel like there's another person at the table. And he's like, well, I don't. I never saw myself having any more than 2 kids. And he's just closed off to the conversation. But, okay. I mean, as somebody who's convinced him to do many things, I can't really take that for a hard no, because I've seen him change his mind.
Okay, well, then have that conversation.
Okay.
What you don't want to do is ever have any partner, male or female, in either of you, feel like they are being dragged through their own life. But it is a fair conversation to say, hey, I feel like I've pushed you on getting together, on getting married, on kid 1, on kid 2, and I feel like I've been right every time. And so I'm feeling like I want to keep pushing because I have this picture of our family and I see what a great dad you are. I see how full you are with love and connection with these crazy daughters of ours. But also I feel like a fancy car is more important than this. And I mean, just put it on the table and have that conversation. I can't give you a 51-49 on this deal. I know that at some point, if he looks at you and for the first time in y'all's relationship together gives you a really hard no, then you have a decision to make. Am I going to live in resentment and frustration and anger? Am I going to hold this against him? Or am I going to exhale and be really grateful for the family we have? Am I going to be deceitful and not take birth control? Like, you get to decide what your next steps are. My hope is that you choose to remain connected. And on the other side, if he chooses to say like, hey, the first year after each one of these kids was such a nightmare. And if you brought on the table, we'll get some support help. We'll have a nanny. We'll have somebody move in with us. We will fill in the blank. I think the deeper conversation for me is, and tell me if I'm wrong, I heard a little bit of disdain in your voice. Like, if it's a money thing and it's over a depreciating asset of a car sitting in the driveway, that's hard to stomach.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like anything financially related or materialistic is just not a good reason to do it. And, to me, there are more important things. I guess if it is like a hard no that I shouldn't push, I just struggle on how to be at peace with that and how to move forward and still stay connected like you suggested.
I mean, you'll have to grieve that picture that you thought you were going to have. I mean, it's a sad season. And it doesn't minimize. I think we're sold that like grief is some zero, right? That to grieve something fully means you have to take love away from something else. That doesn't mean you don't love and you're not super grateful for your 2 daughters. It's that you wanted to bring even more of that love and joy into the world. And
exactly,
your partner said he didn't want that. But it sounds like the real thing is you don't buy, kind of like me, you don't buy the financial argument. And he doesn't regret 1 second now that the crummy years in the rearview mirror. He doesn't regret that.
Yeah, that's what I keep pushing on. I'm like, I know we could do this. If you say, okay, I'm in, I know we would get through it.
Okay, take the money off the table then, and maybe even say, us saying we don't have enough money simply isn't true. We are choosing to have nice cars, we're choosing to have a nice house, we're choosing to go on nice vacations. So that part's not true. Let's move that over because you and I are going to disagree on that. Because I think having a 3rd kid is more important than driving the newest, fanciest car. So let's move that over here. The real issue is, tell me about what we lost, what you lost. Tell me about what you experienced in that year after baby 1 and that year after baby 2. Because I'm asking you because I want to see if there's things that we could put into place so that the year after baby number 3 might be different. And maybe that's the case, but I think it's drilling down into what is this big no about? Because it sounds like there's something else there. I don't know what that would be. But man, the year after, or tough pregnancies, or bad postpartum, or almost separation, or sleepless nights at the office and watching somebody's work performance fall down. Like, those are all reasons to fear doing this again. I get that.
Yeah, it's all valid. It's just, I think I have been avoiding a real conversation with him on it. So I think that this is going to push me to actually have a real sit down and not just a drive-by, why don't we? You know?
I think that also sends a message of seriousness to him. And do it off-site. Do it in the morning. Do it plan it. Like, hey, I want to have not hard, but like let's have an honest conversation at breakfast. Are you in? He'll be like, what? Good God, I got to mow. And you're like, no, I know. I got childcare for the girls, but I want to take you out and talk about something serious with you.
Yeah.
And I want you to be direct about The money thing, that's just not true. Here's the bigger issue. And let's get into that. Does that sound fair?
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I think it's looming over my head, and it's just, it has to happen.
Yeah. And for whatever it's worth, you have to promise you won't weaponize this. You promise? Say, I promise.
Yeah, I promise.
I would have made that exact same argument about kid number 3, and probably the only regret I have in my whole life. I've been mean to a few people, and I wish I could have those back. The biggest, not Kelly, I'd never regret that. Probably the biggest regret I have is that we didn't have number 3.
Wow.
I did not understand.
That's the place I don't want to be.
I know, but no, I'm the husband in this situation. I'm the guy that would have been like, hey, we don't have the money, we don't have this, we don't have that, and like the first 2 had this challenge and that challenge. Like I would have spun up some stories. I got to finish my other degree. I've got to do this. We need to I would have had 1,000 different things. But now I have one 9-year-old and one 15-year-old. Like I just am so overwhelmed by love when I walk in my house, and I'm just so overwhelmed by it all, about how awesome and blessed I am to have 2 healthy, fun, hilarious kids and a pretty amazing spouse. And so, yeah, adding the third, that would just, in my mind, it would just quadruple the fun, because I think those things, ROI, it didn't just add like a third more fun. It would add like 4x the fun. But anyway, also, my daughter made me a 50-point power presentation, not PowerPoint, but like she wrote a book and she stapled it together. It's a 50-point treatise on why we need a third kid, a daughter. And it's pretty cute, actually. So we went to Walmart and got a fake baby. And that's one of the hardest I've laughed ever when she found out that you can put diapers on a doll. It was a riot.